we have three factors, three numbers being multiplied together, and we're getting a negative number, and what we're looking for, what values of x are going to make this statement true. So it's already factored, so we can get the critical values right away. We're going to get x equals 2, 3, and 4, right? The critical values are the values of x here that make this expression 0. So let's draw our number line. Now I'm going to draw kind of a big number line. Make it kind of long, stretch it out. All right, and I'll put our critical values, kind of space them out here. And because this is a strict inequality, I'm going to draw open circles. So I'll have a critical value at 2, 1 at 3, 1 at 4. Now, let's choose some test points. So in this interval right here, let's choose some test point. So choose any number over here, like maybe 0 or 1. Okay, it doesn't matter, just anything down here. Maybe I'll choose a 0. Okay, so I'm going to choose a 0 as my test point. Now I'm going to put that 0 back up into this factored form here and just look for the sign. This is called a sign test. Do I get positives or negatives in each factor? So if I put 0 here, what do I get? 0 minus 2, that's negative, so I get a negative. Then put the 0 here, 0 minus 3, well that's negative again. And then put the negative here, 0 minus 4, that's negative again. And what do you get when you multiply three negatives together? You get a negative. So what we're saying then is that if you pick any of these numbers here, pick any number, put it in here, what you end up with is a negative, and then look at the statement that you're making. Negative less than 0. That's true. So all the numbers in that interval are solutions. So we're going to shade that interval. Let's move on to our next interval. Pick any number in here. We're going to get a fraction, but it doesn't matter. We're not actually computing. So what would happen here if you pick, say, 2.5? So you're going to put that 2.5 back up into each one of these factors. So what do you get here? Just look at the sign. 2.5 minus 2. That's positive. Put the 2.5 in here. Now 2.5 minus 3, that's going to be negative. And then the 2.5 here, 2.5 minus 4, well that's negative. And what do you get if you multiply positive times negative, that's positive. So what we're saying then is that if you pick any number in this interval, put it in here, you'll get a positive times a negative, which is a positive. And then you're saying that a positive number is less than 0. Well, that's false. So none of those numbers can be solutions. Now let's move on to this interval. Pick a number here like maybe 3.5. Okay, so if I pick 3.5 as my test point, put that 3.5 here, here, and here. So let's just do it. 3.5 minus 2, that's positive. 3.5 minus 3 is positive. 3.5 minus 4 is negative. Two positives and a negative, when I multiply those together, I get a negative. So what we're saying is if you pick any number in this interval, put that number in here, you're going to get a positive times a negative, which will give you a negative. And then the statement you're making is a negative is less than 0. That's true. So all those numbers are solutions. And finally, if we go out to our last interval here, pick any number bigger than 4, like maybe 5. And if you put that 5 back into each one of these, 5 minus 2, 5 minus 3, minus 5 minus 4, do you see that they're all positive? And if you multiply those three positives together, you get a positive. So what we're saying is that if you pick any number here, put that number in here and compute, you'll get three positives, which gives you a positive, and the statement you're making is that a positive is less than 0, which is, of course, is false. So here's where our solutions are. They're in this interval. You know what? Let's do this so I can see them. They're here, everywhere I get a true, and they're here. So here's our solutions. I could say x is strictly less than 2, or, now where are you over here? We're between 3 and 4, right? So 3 is to the left of x, which is to the left of 4, and I can write it like this. 3 less than x less than 4.